want to thank all of you at CCALS, and I want to thank those of you that took the time, as Brenda said, from your day, your busy days to come and be here in this way. It means a lot to me, and I hope that when we are finished here today, that this has meant a lot to you. I'd like to start what I always do with even my individual dream clients, but I want to start just to slow it down a little bit, to start to center, as David White, the poet, says, to start close in. You're coming maybe from a very busy day, returning to a very busy day. And so maybe to gently just lay that aside for now and know that this next amount of time is for you and about you. And so I'll ask you, if you're comfortable, to just gently close your eyes. And let's take this next breath together. To take that breath as best you can. Just the simple phrase, take the next breath, may be a challenge. And to know that as we're here today, all of who you are is welcome. All of who you are is welcome. All of our roles and relationships in this room, our moms and dads and sisters and brothers and partners, sons, daughters, friends, and there's caregivers in this room. And there's those that are receiving care. There's room at the table for all of who we are. Another presence in the room today are many feelings and emotions. There may be curiosity. Maybe people are feeling anxious, maybe even skeptical. That's okay. It's all welcome. And as we gather in closer to deeper feelings, there may be some joy in this room. Maybe you've got a lovely piece of information today. There may be sadness. There may be fear. There may be grief. But all of that too is welcome here. And to know that one thing every one of us shares in this room is we're all dreamers. We all dream. And so again, knowing this time is for you and about you, let's sit silently for just 10 seconds. Close in. And let's take one more breath and we'll begin here together. I will mention that there's got to be room at the table today as well. I do have a chronic cough, and so it'll be here with us today. So thank you ahead of time. What I want to do today is to speak about dreams in general, this way I work with dreams, in as Brenda mentioned, the natural dream work approach. I'll speak about what we can learn, how to be with our own dreams, and then how to be with another person's dreams, and how we can learn to find some support and guidance and even healing in our dreams. And with that in mind, I will stop. I have a couple places I'll stop for questions. So if you have a question, go ahead and put it in the chat room. And at that point, I'll stop and I'll answer those, as many of those as I can, or we'll move them along. But we'll do that. So I'm going to take a breath. How do you start a talk on the importance of dreams? I'm going to start with a dream. And I'm going to start with my very first remembered dream. I was about 3 or 4. And I'm going to start with this dream for a couple reasons. One is to show how our dreams come to us through our whole life, throughout our whole life, in utero all the way to, as my experience with hospice, to hours before our death. And my experience is that they come to us faithfully, we might say relentlessly, but they want to help us remember something about who we are, a deeper sense of who we are. So here's this dream, very simple. I was standing at the top of the stairs in my childhood home at that age, and I felt like a movement in my upper stomach, now I would call it the solar plexus, and I was able to just float down the stairs. And it was wonderful. Oh my gosh, it was fun. So I got to the bottom landing, I went back up and I did it again. And I did it again. We could say, why didn't you float back up? But I didn't at 4, I had to climb up the stairs. And I floated down. I can still, you can hear it in my voice, I still remember that next morning standing there of, oh my gosh. And I went to move and I couldn't move my body in that way. I didn't have access to that way of floating down the stairs, the joy and the fun of that. And I was confused. I didn't understand a way I had known myself. I no longer had access to. And that, again, the reason I want to share this dream is that even when we're very young, we don't have to wait till end of life or a catastrophic life challenge, that every night our dreams come wanting us to know something. And with this dream, so that's how I was with that dream. Over 60 years later, I was driving to meet with a grief group that was actually facilitated by Brenda, because she was our hospice chaplain. And I was going to go meet with the grief group to explore with them dreams they were having of their deceased loved ones. And in that moment, I felt what was in that dream when I could no longer access that part of myself. And tears started to rise. And I actually pulled the car over. There was a way I had known myself, a connection I had felt, a joy I had felt that I could no longer access. And what I felt was grief. I felt grief. And that can sound like an odd medicine, because you're going to hear me say the word medicine a lot today. That's an odd medicine in the dream. But in my very first dream, what was left alive in me is that there's a way of knowing myself in a deeper sense, in a truer sense. And it kept alive in me my love of dreams. That, and it also taught me I can feel this connection to both my joy and my grief. My joy and my grief. It's coming to me right now, so I'll say it. I don't know if any of you knew the teacher Malidoma Somé. He died recently. And he said something that struck me. He said that on his first, he's from West Africa. He said on his first trip to New York, he said he was struck because the sidewalks of New York were saturated with unfelt grief. That we're afraid of these feelings, and yet our dreams bring them. We will feel our joy and we will feel our grief. So I want to say a bit about how it is I work with dreams. I work with dreamers of all ages, all backgrounds, all stages of their life. As I said, we have dreams from in utero right to the end. And so I work with people with all of these backgrounds. And there's many ways to work with dreams, and they're all valid and they're all wonderful and they're all helpful. For today, I would say whatever your experiences of your dreams, some of what I say today may echo for you. Some of it may be very new. And so that what I'm going to share here today is the way I approach dreams, and I'm with the dreamer in this practice called natural dream work. And so in the way I work with dreams, it's not that so much as I'm here to interpret a dream. I don't interpret dreams, go to the symbolism of the dream. talk about a dream. What my role is with a dreamer is to help them experience their dream. What is the experience in the dream that's coming to us every single night, and inviting us into this kind of experience? And traditional therapy is very helpful and wonderful and has its role. A difference in the way of working with dreams is that in traditional therapy, we may say, okay, here's what I want to talk about today. When we work with our dreams, we explore what the dream's agenda is. And sometimes we like that agenda. We want to talk about what the dream brings. And a lot of time, I don't want to talk about that. But the dream says, here's your invitation to speak about this and be with this. And so that can be a little bit challenging to us. I was in education for public education for almost 30 years. And we had what's called an IEP, an individual education plan. And that's how I see our dreams, that our dreams are not a one size fits all. It's not about the dream dictionary, which is great, because if you're going to a dream dictionary, it means you're interested in your dreams, and that's good. But the IEP, this individual education plan, every night comes for you, specifically for you. I live in the mountains of Colorado. I have a lot of bears and mountain lions in my dreams because they come right by my window. So the dream knows we want Mary Jo to feel some fear. We know the one because she's been out in the woods and seen a mountain lion. So they access that fear right away. And so the dreams know what to bring to us. And you'll hear some of that today in the dreams that I share with folks. So what do I mean by this, this way I step into a dream? And so I'm going to just share a couple things. If I could only say one sentence about dreams, which I usually cannot just say one sentence, but if I could only say one sentence about dreams, it would be that our dreams want to help us bring into alignment our inner self and our outer self. Our inner self and our outer self, that just by taking birth, those get out of alignment. It's not that we've done something wrong. I think whether we've had the best of lives, and I hope those folks are out there that have had the best of lives, or we've had difficult lives, trauma-filled lives. I work with a lot of folks who have had trauma in their life. We start to forget who we are, like that little girl on the steps that couldn't fly down. I forgot that part of myself. And so just being human, we forget that connection. We don't lose it. The dreams show us again and again, but it gets frayed and we forgot. And the dreams bring us these situations and locations, and very much especially these beings in our dreams. I call them the crazy cast of characters that come to love us, to challenge us, to scare us, to have us start to be in relationship with them and what it is they want to bring to us. And so it brings us, this is this place where the healing medicine is, where if I can be in my dream, be in this moment, and it may not be in the dream, but as we open it up, there's a feeling there. It may be fear, and that's an odd medicine, but it's the medicine. There may be love, and some of us resist feeling that. And we're asked to remember that we can love and be loved. All these ways that our dreams want to help us be embodied and ensouled. If I could only say one word about our dreams, it would be the word relationship. Our dreams want to help us in this alignment, in this remembering, help us learn to be in relationship with ourselves, our true selves. So many of us got conditioned into the world, but who are we really? To remember and be in relationship with ourselves, with each other in our relationships. How are we with the people in our life? Are we with them in the way we want to be with them? And to be in relationship with, I'll use the word numinous, the unseen. If we have this connection with the unseen, this part of the world, these beings. Um, how are we in relationship with that and finding support there? If I can only say one experience that we have in our dreams, it would be that the dreams every night invite us back into our feelings. And this is the medicine in the way that I work with dreams, the natural dream work. The healing medicine in the dreams is the recovery of our capacity to feel our feelings. Do we feel our fear or do we turn away from it? Do we try to fix it? Can we feel our grief or do we suppress it? Can we feel our joy? Can we feel our love? And maybe we can only take a sip of that medicine. The dreams are very kind. They may be challenging and scary sometimes, but they're very kind. They only bring, and we can take a sip of that medicine. There's this great word, anamnesis, and it means unforgetting. And for me, that's what our dreams want. They want to help us unforget and remember who we are. And so, kind of to pull this together, so at even at age 4, the dreams are there to support us, and that we don't have to wait. And I saw this so much in hospice, working with patients with their dreams and visions, that we don't have to wait till their end of life or something catastrophic, that they come to us every night wanting us to be in relationship in this way. Let me take a breath here and see how I want to proceed. I guess what I'd say is I want to acknowledge here, especially with the beautiful people here from CCALS and all of these families, that um, there's so many uncertainties in our life. So many things can happen. And when we have a major life situation, our whole world gets turned 180. It gets turned 180. And I'm saying this because I see this in the dreams, and we can feel like, we've lost control of our life. We've got people coming into our homes, helpful people, but people nonetheless are coming in. We can feel we don't have say much of what's going on. And yet we know we need that support. We need that support. And so today with dreams, I want to add another layer of support besides all that I know you're getting. And to explore this way we can encourage a relationship with our dreams. So when we say, okay, we could say, okay, I'm willing to explore my dreams. And how do we learn to be with them? How do we learn to be with our own dreams? And how do we dream? And that's what I want to include here today, especially how do we learn to be with the dreams of another? And that is kind of the heart of what I want to share here today is how do we do this? Whether it's our own illness or it's the illness of a loved one, how do we be in this place and not be overwhelmed? What I've learned from our dreams, and I will give examples here in a bit, that we can feel like it's too much. If I feel my grief, it'll be too much. It'll take me out. If I was facilitating a grief group yesterday, and a fellow whose wife died 4 months ago, and he said, yesterday I was happy, and then I felt guilty. So then we don't even allow ourselves that moment. It's too much. And so can we be in that moment and know that we think, okay, there's too much fear, there's too much pain, there's too much unknown. What I've learned with dreams is that because two can kind of be a judgment. It's not that there's too much grief, but I would say there is so much grief. There is so much grief. There is so much fear. And our dreams ask us, can we feel this? Because they know it's a part of us that wants to be felt, that it's actually part of being, feeling into healing, taking this medicine. And then we start to slowly discover, I can be in my fear and continue on. I've seen this so many times with both patients and family members. One woman said to me, I had no idea I was so afraid. And then in the next breath, she said, and I can do this. It's it, it we don't have to try to bypass or suppress our fear. I'm using that as an example in order to function. We can be in that place and do it. And our dreams know this, and they know when we're ready. So I would suggest that when something comes in a dream and it's a potent feeling, at first we may feel it's too much, but can we consider that it's so much? So questions I'm going to address here today. There's just a couple I'll say, and I'm going to pause for about 10 seconds after each one and just kind of drop in a little bit and answer that for yourself. Just start to begin that inner conversation. So a first question I would say to consider is, how are you in relationship with your own dreams? Just take 10 seconds. How do you receive your dreams? How do you receive your dreams? And how do you receive the dreams that are shared with you by people? How can we meet the dreamer and the dream where the dream is asking to be met? The dream is an invitation. And how are we meeting that? And even if we're not a dream worker, a trained dream worker, how can we become more familiar and receptive to all the changes that are going on around for us and our loved ones with regards to dreams? And so what I'll share in a little bit here is my experience of several things happen to the dream and how we might miss that invitation. Not because we're doing something wrong, we just don't know. So how can we meet that invitation? So I do want to stop here and check in and see if there's any questions. And what I do want to say right ahead is that please don't share any personal dreams that you're having, because in a public venue like this, it's not the place to step into them. We can think our dream means something, but it may have something else once I were to start asking questions. At the end, I'll give you my contact information, all of that, and I would welcome exploring that with you, but not here today. So are there any questions?
Yes, Mary Jo. Earlier you spoke of that 4-year-old. What was alive in me as a 4-year-old? Can you expand upon that?
Yes. The dream was bringing me an image, and we do speak so often about the images in our dreams, and that images carry feelings. And the image, and I can, again, you can hear it now. I'm 72, so that many more years later, standing at the top of the stairs, the utter joy in my body, the connected to something so much bigger than I was, and the dream, that simple little dream that we could so easily disregard. I was going to say planted in me, but I don't think it was planted. I think it was already there, kept alive in me. There's something I know I'm connected to. It's ineffable. We all know that. We know there's something else, and we can't name it. And I thank you for that question, Ron. And I do want to add here another thing about the importance of dreams, because this was a joyful dream that also felt grief later, is my father was a young Marine during World War II, and he was captured on Wake Island and spent 3.5 years in prison camp. If you've seen Lori Hillebrand's Unbroken, that was the prison camp he was in. And so my growing up was, for most of into my teens, for all of us, included my dad waking up screaming in terror. And we didn't know what PTSD was back then. And as scary as that was, it also kept alive in me. These dreams mean something. They're important. Um, and so again, so the joy, the grief, and the fear, the dreams are keeping alive. Ron, did I answer that question?
Yeah. And the one thing I would add is the memory. As you were remembering as a 4-year-old, that physical, that somatic sensation,
Mhm.
which is incredibly, incredibly important,
Yes.
and for those, caring for as caregivers of those living with the ALS, the importance of just really the opportunity that's actually there, to navigate with our dreams and our physical sensations because they come from somewhere.
Yes,
So,
beautifully said, and thank you because this is what the dreams say, we can say, "Oh," and I'm the oldest one right now as a natural dreamer practitioner, and I love it because nobody gets to say I'm too old to do this. Yeah, and because here it is still alive. So I may not be able to, do this or that as I age, but that feeling of joy is still very much alive in me, that feeling of loving, being loved. These are the things that get healed, in our dreams. So yes, the dreams keep the memories alive of who we really are. Thank you for saying it that way. Is there another question?
there's a chat. Eileen had something in the chat there for you.
So I just click on that?
Yeah.
Well, I can read it to you if you'd like.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, James.
So the question from Eileen is, how do I better access my dreams? Sometimes I don't recall my dreams.
This is a great, thank you, Eileen, because this is one of the things we hear all the time, and it's understandable. Uh, and one thing I'll say, and I'm laughing, but I'm saying it seriously. Just being here today, I'm going to say that every one of you in the next few days is going to remember a dream, even if you don't. I think whatever we want to call that dream consciousness, the unconscious, I think is delighted. Oh my gosh, they're talking about dreams, and it will break through. And just like anything in our life, that which we focus on, where we put our attention, starts to flourish. And so we don't remember our dreams because we wake up and boy, especially in our culture, we hit the ground running and there isn't the space for that. And I have many dreamers I work with that when they start, they might have one or two remembered dreams. And then within a few sessions, the dreams are coming through. The conversation, and this is a word because I always call myself the peanut gallery there. It's the conversation between the dreamer and the dream, and then and this relationship that starts to be enlivened, be remembered with this part of who we are. Um, any other questions, James? Or
I don't
and
see any.
Eileen, yeah, I'm sorry, Eileen, did I answer that? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I don't see anything else in the chat, Mary Jo, but I had one for myself.
Sure.
That is related to this idea of giving attention to and awakening and encouraging that communication. Do you think having a dream journal is a valuable tool in that regard, like writing them down when you remember them?
Again, a great question that I think speaks to so many of us. I will start by saying, I would do whatever works for you. So some people I work with people who handwrite their dreams in a journal. It's their morning practice. I have folks who, now with all of the technology, record their dream. So, which is a little faster. I get up every morning and write on my computer. And I will add one thing here in remembering, and I didn't learn this till a few years ago, but it really has worked for me, that every one of you knows how fleeting our dreams are. You wake up and you even blink your eyes and it's gone. And the most helpful tip I got that I have found works beautifully is when I wake up, whether it's in the middle of the night, in the morning, when I wake up from a dream, and this is on my website, which I'll share later, don't move. Don't move. Just lay there. You're steeped in the dream right then, and be in it, be in the images. It starts to come back to you. Go over it again and again. Don't move. And this is non-technical language. I think it starts to get in our grooves, and then it actually becomes a memory. And I will say this, not because Mary Jo is special or anything. I'm at the point, and I couldn't be more delighted because I don't have to get up on cold Colorado middle of the nights. I can wake up in the middle of the night, have a dream, do what I just suggested, and in the morning it's still there. It's a memory, and it's just wonderful. So I would say whatever works for you for remembering your dreams and writing them down. If you have the space to do a dream journal, how beautiful. Because just the process of writing deepens it.
Mhm.
Thank you, Mary Jo. There's
Thank,
another question here from Ren de Beer. It says, how do I prepare for dreams before I fall asleep?
um, is it Brenda, her name?
It's Renier.
Rainier.
Oh, Rainier. Rainier, thank you. Let me take a moment here because I want to use the word intention, but I don't know that I want to use the word intention. But you, because that can start to sound very formal. But even just a little, and I do like the word prayer, a little plea. I'd like to remember a dream tonight, and just that that sweet, vulnerable way of being in relationship with, back to the word numinous, with the unseen, and see what happens. I really have to tell you, unless there's, and I've only met one person with a neurological disorder that actually she said she couldn't remember dreams. I haven't met anyone that the dreams don't start to come through. They may not come through with the speed and the frequency that we like, but they do come through. And we also can have a judging of, well, I want to, it's got to be a saga. Some of the most potent dreams can be 4 or 5 words. 4 or 5 words. I hope I answered that, Rainier. So if there's more questions, we'll catch them later.
Mary Jo, can I ask one quick
Sure.
question about nightmares? One of the things that I know to be a real deterrent from exploring dreams is that they seem so intense. Or folks will say, literally, I don't want to remember my dreams because they come, and the ones I do remember are horrifying. How to be in relationship with that?
And so the word nightmare, and you actually use 2 words that I would use here, nightmare, and really a nightmare is an intense dream. There's something in our dream that is so desirous of our attention. And it can come in that way, and it might be to feel our fear. And so we don't want to feel our fear. And that's why it helps to have some support as we explore our dreams. And I have a dream here that I will share about that place of, I don't want to feel my fear. I don't want to feel it. And then when we start to remember that we can do that. I so often, a dozen times a day, will say to folks, can you take one breath here into your fear? And then all of a sudden that nightmare starts to shift. I was with a woman this morning, and there were these mean guys nudging her off the sofa. And as we explored it, what it was roughhousing. It was a kid feeling that she thought these were bad guys and they were mean and they were going after her. And it was this place of that she had forgotten. As we explored it, then she remembered, back to Ron's word memory, the fun in the back seat with her brothers hitting at each other and stop looking at me. And that was what was there, not how it got filtered into these bad guys that are picking on me. Did that answer it a little bit? Because that's a big topic. So a couple things. As I said, what happens to our dreams? First of all, we don't share our dreams with someone. We may not pay attention to them ourselves. So if we've spent our whole life not paying attention to our dreams, as most of us do, when they come, and they do come in life crises, and they break through, even if we don't want them, they can be very unfamiliar. They can be very frightening and confusing. So Brenda, your question is perfect because it's going to bring us to this. And they'll say it was horrible, it was bizarre, it was weird. And so one of the things we can do for ourselves and as caregivers is what are our own fears in our life? Because our dreams are going to bring them. And how are we with the places that scare us? This whole process with, and then when we come into life-threatening illnesses, back to what I was saying earlier, there's a sense of unknown. We're losing control. The ground gets real soft under our feet. So our fears can be holding us back and make us uncomfortable. And when someone we love shares a dream with us that's scary, we can't fix it, can we? We're in a situation that we can't fix things anymore. There is the sense of this is out of my hands now. And we don't want to feel helpless. We want to feel we can fix it. And it comes in our dreams again and again, these places of helplessness. So what do we do if we can't fix it? Maybe there's another kind of medicine. And we can learn to be with it and be present with it. And so I want to share a dream here with a fellow I worked with. So how do we be with another's dream? And I'll call him Jack. And I have permission to use these dreams, but I change all identifiers. So Jack was in probably his final 2 weeks before he did die. And the hospice lets people know we have someone, if you're dreaming, we have someone to work with you. And so he asked for me to come. So I was going to go see Jack. Well, in the meantime, his wife got scared because the dream was a scary dream. As Brenda said, here's this nightmare. And she said, you don't tell anybody that dream because they'll think you're nuts and they'll take you away. And she wasn't doing anything wrong. This is why I was saying she was afraid. And so she touched his dream with her fear. And that's what we do. And so I went to see him, and he was a very educated man. And we sat there, and he said, I'm not dreaming. And I said, oh, and what do I do? Argue with him? No, I said, oh. And he went on and gave me a long intellectual speech about dreams and that they're just random firings of the brain. And I let him talk. I mean, he was agitated and didn't try to change anything. And when he was finished, I said, I hear you. I said, that is one way to look at dreams. I said, but let me add this. What I realized halfway through, he didn't think I was there to work with the dream. He thought I was there to evaluate his sanity. So he was giving me his spiel. I'm fine. I don't dream. And then I thought, and so again, to be with him, I don't have to fix him. It's not my place to fix him. I can't fix anything. So after he spoke, I said, that is a way to look at dreams. I said, but I look at them in another way, and I work with them in a different approach, which is what I've shared with you, but I did it briefly. And he just sat there real quietly. And then he shared his dream. I mean, to me, that is just in that moment when he started to tell his dream, that it's sweet to know we can meet a person without pushing them. So I'm going to actually read this part, if it's okay with you. So then finally he told me his dream. He was trapped under a table and he couldn't get up. Very simple dream, right? Very simple scene. And fought and couldn't get up. And he said what was really painful, his whole family was standing around watching and not doing anything to help him. And then he said, just bitterly, he said, they don't care. They don't care. And so I said, oh, so I sat quietly. And then I said, let's go back in the dream. And we explored him under the table. and he couldn't get up. And he started to say he was feeling a loss of control of his life. He knew that the situation wasn't going to change, that he was scared. And I said, okay. And we stayed with that. I'm going shorter here than it takes longer. And I said, Jack, could you look over at your family again? And he said, yeah. And I said, look at the looks on their faces. I said, do they look like they don't care, or is it something else? He said, they look really serious. I said, yeah, they look really serious. I said, they're here with you. They're looking at you, and they look really serious, because maybe it's not that they don't care, but maybe they feel helpless too, that they don't know what to do, that they can't do anything for you anymore. And that's what he felt. And then his fear was there, and also his sadness that his family did love him, was there for him, but that they couldn't do anything for him. So it makes sense that Jack's wife was afraid. This was new for her, all of this. She didn't know, we just don't know what to do in these places. How can we? And so when we're, and this is to ourselves, for ourselves, and also as caregivers, and what our hospice nurses do to start this, how do we start this conversation? We can simply say, how are you sleeping? Are you dreaming? And if they want to share a dream, to let them share it. Many times I have found patients so want to protect their family. They really want to protect their family. And so they may not even be able to share that dream with someone, or what they're afraid of, but they can with part of their beautiful support team. And when we say, hey, share your dream, I find again and again just a relief, like, oh, I've had this dream. It's been scary, or it's been confusing. And they get to speak what wants to be spoken. They get to speak what wants to be spoken without it needing to be fixed, without us needing to deny it. We don't have to do that. So we could say, Jack under the table, wow, that does sound scary. What was that like? And if they say, I'm scared, yeah, that's scary. We don't have to fix it. We leave this space. And then another important question that I ask is, so in that place you're feeling scared, do you know that fear right now? And I'm using fear as an example. Do you know that fear in your life right now? Where is that? And then the connection is made. We don't have to make it better, but we can be with them. Yeah, I'm scared. And now, as I said in the opening, centering, there's room at the table for our fear. I'm going to roll ahead here. I was going to stop for questions, but I think I'll go on, and we'll catch those later. So another thing that happens with our dreams is we're told, it's similar to not telling them, and we learn to not tell them then if they're not received, is we're told it's only a dream. Oh, it's only a dream. And we tell kids that all the time. We want to be helpful. It's only a dream. And when we say that, the dreamer, as adults, they stop. They don't go on. There isn't space there. And again, I'll speak to that in a moment. And kids, I work with children's dreams. We know those feelings in that dream were very real. It's kind of like saying our feelings aren't real. If we're terrified in our dream, that our body knew it. We know that it's real. And so we want to be able to be, in relationship with that. And when we do that, again, not with bad intention, we just don't know better, they don't share their dreams anymore. So when we can include in caregiving these inner needs as well as our outer needs, it brings this extra layer of support that I was saying earlier. I want to share, and this was more of a vision than a dream, but I want to share it. So let me, because I want to read a little bit from that. So I was with, I'll call him Glenn, and I was at a hospice meeting, and after the meeting was over, and I had been working with a couple dreams of his, and we had a nice relationship. And the home healthcare person said, "Oh, I was at Glenn's yesterday, and he told me he's seeing angels." Well, I got excited, and I said, "He did. What did he say?" And she said, "Oh, I just changed the subject. I just changed the subject." And I want to stop here for a second. She wasn't doing something wrong. She wasn't doing anything wrong. We want the best care for our patients and our loved ones. But if we aren't comfortable speaking about these things, we're not comfortable speaking about illness, about death. Are we comfortable speaking about angels? And so she did what she knew to do. Because we don't understand that role. So I went to see him, and so I sat on the side of his bed, and we kind of checked in a little bit. And then I said to him, I'm going to read this because I like the way I wrote it. So I was sitting there, and then I said, "I hear you seeing angels." And he just said, "No, I don't see angels." He had already stopped talking about it. So, but we already had a good trust going. So I just sat there quietly, and I waited. And I want to interject here. Silence is so important. To be in the moment and wait. And wait. When I was first learning to do dream work, I had little cue cards for myself. Like one would say, "Slow down," and one say, "Wait." To learn to slow down. And I have a lifelong meditation background. And so to wait in the silence. So we sat silently for quite a few beats. And then Glenn said, "I'm lucky to see angels." And if it's okay, I want to read this. And I said, "You are." Did they say anything? "No, they just come in and stand around the room." And then he pointed about the different places around the room. I said, "What are they like?" He said, "They're like you, normal people who ask what angels look like." And then we just sat there. What more needed to be said? But I knew we weren't alone in that room. I knew we weren't alone. He didn't need me to believe there were angels. I did, but he didn't need me to believe there were angels or not. He just needed me to be with him in that place. The angels had him, and I got the privilege of being in that place. And so, again, I want to say it again. We don't have to decide if these things are really happening. We don't have to take it from the heart to the head. We can stay in our heart. And it's just, if it's happening for someone, it has meaning for them. And can we be with them in that place? I was going to go to questions. I think I'll give it a try. I'm just watching. I want to be sure to share the things I want to share.
There is one question here from Dorothy, if you're ready for it.
Sure.
She's asking, do you think it is possible for someone to remember every single dream they've had since a child? Because I do, and always wondered what that means. I do agree with you that dreams become memories.
So Dorothy, and you can just nod. I don't know, I have you on my screen, or what I'm hearing
She's
you
on the
say.
second one.
And let me go there.
I'm here.
Okay, Dorothy. So am I hearing you say that where I want to see you? You remember every dream you've had since childhood.
Right.
Well, you're the first person I've met that's had that, and I want to bow to you. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And how is that for you, that you remember every single dream since childhood? How has that been for you?
I mean, it's been good. I just can't. I just don't know like why I remember them. Like sometimes, I would just lay down and then I'll remember a dream, then I'll remember another one and another one. It goes like all the way back. Every
Mm.
single dream that I've had, and like everything that I felt in the dream. So I don't really know how to like. I don't know, like normally I know how to I know the meaning of dreams, and I can
Mhm.
interpret, but for to be able to remember that, because I've also asked my sister, I was like, do you remember like dreams you had maybe when you were like, I don't know, 6 years old or something, or 10? She's like, well, it depends, but to go far back to 4 years old, I think that's, I don't know. I don't know. I don't even have the words for it. That's all.
I
Because I don't
and
know.
yeah, that, and I want to say I don't have the words either, and I'm going to say something. I'm just going to say I think I've met one of the best friends of dreams ever, and that's you, Dorothy. You're a good, think of our dreams come, and I've often said this. Imagine a friend that comes every night and talks to us, and we turn away and don't listen. Right? We're really not good friends. You are a good friend to your dreams
Yeah.
and to your inner self, and that's really sweet and beautiful. And no, I've not met someone before that remembers all their dreams. So
Oh,
thank you for sharing that.
yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. Anybody else, James, or before I continue?
Looks like Susan has asked, looking around, one of the responses to our world's uncertainties has been a resurgence of surreal art. I'm not sure, is that related to dreaming and surreal art?
Um,
Is a dream permeable through shared experience?
Can I just say that it's also completely possible, if you have a question, Dorothy, or others, to unmute yourself and ask those questions too. The chat is just there in case there's more than we can handle, but feel free to, either raise your hand on the Zoom screen or also unmute yourself to ask a question, just so that we're not speaking over each other.
and this question was from
From
It's
Sue.
for me. I couldn't unmute myself there for a
Oh,
minute.
Susan. Yeah. So
Yeah.
what actually, I don't know Susan, but she just gave me the lead into the next piece of what I want to talk about today. And the times we're in, Jung called them, we have the spirit of the times and the spirit of the depths. And so with everything that's going on immediately in our world, and Ukraine comes up preeminently here, and whatever's in our life, in our homes. And so do our dreams reflect that and speak to that? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Without, I mean, that can be a whole talk in and of itself. And they can feel our dreams can feel surreal, as art is surreal, that this is outside of reality. And I like that you brought that word, Susan, because what I would say here, I appreciate this, because I call it outer reality and inner reality, because dreams are not real, but they are their own realm. They're their own reality. And so when we have things coming into our dreams that reflect what's going on in the outer world, this is going to be a beautiful segue, Susan. We call that, here's the horizontal. Here's what's going on in the surface of our life in our outer world. And we can just work with a dream that way, reflect that, and that's fine. But in the way I work with dreams, in this natural dream work way, back to these dreams are very personal and unique for us. I take the dream and I turn it vertically. Where's the depths? Not the dream of the times, or the dream of the depths. And what does that mean for you? Why is that in your dream at this time? Very personal, very unique. And the dreams, as I said earlier, will say, okay, here's for Susan, we'll take this from her outer world experience and this for the deeper teachings and deeper invitation for you. So that's a brief answer to a larger question, Susan. But thank you for asking it, because it leads me into this next place where going from the horizontal to the vertical, from outer world to the feelings below. Oftentimes we want to say, you know, like Jack did, it's random firings of the brain, or it's last night's pepperoni pizza. But we want to trust that these dreams are coming every night, and we start to realize they do have a meaning for us, a very personal meaning. We can, because that's what I'm always listening for, is what's underneath. What's underneath. In a dream, I may be looking at what's in between two words that didn't get said. But in that little gap is a feeling that's lying there that may not be felt in the dream. But a little bit of opening it up, asking tender questions, being willing to be in these places, we start to see the medicine that's underneath. And that medicine is in the feeling or opening up the unfelt feeling, and something that we may not want to feel, and that's okay, but it's asking to be felt. Can we be with it? And again, back to anamnesis, we forgot these parts of ourselves, and our dreams, and I'll even say soul, doesn't live a la carte. It doesn't say, I will feel my love, but I won't feel my pain. If we won't feel our pain, then we won't get the depth of our love. I'll feel my joy, but I don't want to feel my grief and my sorrow. Then we don't get that true, beautiful joy that enlivens us, because we start to temper them. And so our dreams invite us to remembering that we can feel our love and our pain, our joy and our sorrow, our fear and our vulnerability. This whole beautiful palette of beingness becomes actually I'm not going to use the word power, because that can feel like over. It becomes our greatest potency. If I can feel my feelings, then I can be in my life situations, feeling great grief, feeling great fear, and be there and be with it in the way that my heart wants me to be there. So I'm going to share a dream here of a fellow I'll call Don. And Don was an ALS patient. I had the privilege of knowing him for quite a time before his death. And so on one of our visits, let me see what I want to share and what I want to read. Yeah. So here's the dream that Don shared. In the dream, I fall asleep and something happens that scares me. So I say, I'll just wake up, which I do, but I'm still in the dream. And there's a disaster, many cars crashing. So I say, I'll just wake up. And I do. But then I'm really awake. And it's so hot. I can't move the blanket because he wasn't able to move at that point. And it's so hot. I say, I'll just wake up. And I can't. It's so scary. So scary. So imagine, even back to what I was saying earlier, just that he gets to voice this with another human being. He gets to speak of this dream. And so then I said, would it be okay? I'm not the authority in this moment, the dream and Don and their relationship. So I said, could we kind of stay here a little bit? And would it be okay if we went back into the dream and I'll go back in with you? And he said, yes. I said, you're not alone here. I said, I'm here with you. So we went through the dream. And when we got to the crashing cars, he really was terrified because he couldn't wake up. He couldn't wake up. And I said, if it's okay, can you just take one breath into being afraid before you push it away? Terror, not just fear, terror. Can you take a breath? And he could. So I said, can you take another breath? And he could. And we did that for a few moments, and I was holding his hand. And then he started to cry. And then he started to cry, and he said, here comes the grief. That's what was underneath the fear. Here comes the grief. It was so poignant and so beautiful. And that under the terror that was capping this, under the terror was this grief that wanted to be felt. And again, I'm going quickly here for today's purposes, but this was very slowed down. And then he said something so touching to me. He said, I tell everybody I'm not afraid to die, but I am. But I am. And so we sat there together in the grief and the fear and afraid to die. Again, this medicine that the dream brings, this wanted to be felt. This wanted in Don, this wanted to be shared. And so to be with another person, as I was saying earlier, we don't have to fix it. It's not, that, again, I can't fix it. He can't fix it. But can we be with it? Can we just be with it and feel our grief? And I guess I want to bring this in. Sadness and tears come, and I call tears liquid grace. Tears are liquid grace. They know how to move through us. These feelings know how to move through us, and so if we can let our grief move, it'll move through us. It may go away for a little while. It'll be back. If we can feel our pain, it knows how to move through us, rather than this place that we learned to resist because we thought it was too much rather than so much. So I'm aware of the time, and I want to honor everybody's time. So this has really been an introduction of how can we be with our own dreams, and how can we be with the dreams of someone we care for or we love, and honor those. And so I would just say a couple things. We can start by being aware of our own fears in life, of the unknowns of life's challenges, these places we scramble for control, but there's a part of us that knows we really can't. And so how are we with those places in our lives, and how dreams can help that? If someone is dreaming and we want to encourage that conversation, if they're remembering their dreams, how are you sleeping? Are you dreaming? And if they do share something with us, we can just reflect it and honor it. We don't need to fix it. We could say, what was that like? And whatever they say, reflect back. We may not know what's happening in these moments, but I would tell you, based on my experience, something's happening. And we can trust that. There's unseen hands, unseen support going on when we allow the space for this. And also, this is what CCALS is here right now, to ask for help. So many of us thought we're it's on us, we got to do it, we're in this alone. Our dreams tell us again and again, there's help. And can we ask for it? We don't have to do it all on our own. So before I go to questions, again, I want to be sure I take time to say to you that if there isn't time for your question today, if you have a question that comes up later after we get off, if there's something you didn't want to share here, and speak to me privately about, if you want to begin exploring dreams, please don't hesitate to be in touch. I think you have my contact information in the invite that went out, but my email is mjheyen@gmail.com. And my dream website that has lots of information is maryjoheyen.com. And I do want to add that I am not a limited resource, that I am part of beautiful colleagues who, a number of them are here today as well, that work with dreams in this way. And they work with them respectfully, and they honor the dream and the dreamer. And that site is thenaturaldream.com, which has more information. So, James, can we go to questions? Is there any more out there?
Yes.
Yes, there are. Martha is asking, do you think that when we have a dream of a loved one that is passed, they are visiting us?
Martha, where's Martha? There you are. Hi, Martha. I love this question because when this happens with dreamers, one thing I'll say often is, are you aware in the dream that they're deceased? And if the dreamer is, then, because I wouldn't say always, all right, but if they're aware they're deceased, then I would suggest that it probably is a visitation. They're coming for some reason for you. And it's usually a very, even if the dream can seem at first scans confusing, that they are coming because there's something they want you to know. Yeah. And other times they may be in the dream because of, back to that word memory, some beingness, some relationship with them. And that's their role in the dream. So, but yes, I work with a lot of folks who have dreams of their loved ones who have died, and they find great comfort in those.
There's one here from Tom. He's asking, if this dream was a story, what would I title it? What is the author of the dream directing me to attend to?
And Tom, if you want to share a bit more on that, feel free, please.
Yeah, Mary Jo, my daughter and I, Emily, are loving your presentation.
Oh,
I've been working with dreams for a long time, and it was really my sharing. One thing that I find very insightful is to, one, jot down, if that dream was a story, what would I title it? What would be the title of the story? And the other one, which you've kind of alluded to, what is the author of the dream directing me to attend to? And I've gotten a lot of helpful direction, we'll say.
beautiful.
Thank you very much. It really, one of my questions is, I've had like a 2-month desert. No dreams can be recalled, but I frequently just use my cell phone, like you said earlier. Speaking speed's about 150, writing speed's about 30, so it's easier for me to record it quickly and get out some of the key words. But more of a thank you. Is there, and I asked this question, I kind of know the answer, but is there any food, drink you can take before going to bed that'll get you some REM sleep? And if you would please say bourbon really loud.
Oh, okay. Bourbon. Yep. I was gonna. You read my mind. I was gonna say bourbon. I'm not the one to ask for food or those things, because I actually will say, Tom, and thank you for your question and your beautiful presence. I think that once we have this relationship and conversation with our dreams, it is of itself. It doesn't need encouragement. It's an intimate relationship that lives of itself. And it's a sweet relationship. And I love that you title your dreams, Tom. I title mine, and we try to get it down into that one theme of it. And also that, who is the author of this dream? And I'm going to say this real briefly, just because of time, that in our dream, that we would call it the dream, the ego point of view, who we are in the dream that's how we step in our dream. We're in our worldly self, our conditioned self. And then also within that dream, and that's where a dream worker's help can come in, there's the soul's point of view. We may turn away from the scary guy, but our inner self, our deepest self wouldn't. We would be able to be in our fear and be in that moment. And so the dreams, we start to say, am I being in my truest, deepest self in this dream, and meeting the dream where it wants to be met? So I hope that helped. I hope that helped, Tom. Thank you. How are we doing there, James? Any more?
Oh wait, something's popped up here. Yeah, it's from Jocelyn, and she's asking, I have used mugwort to help with clarity and dreaming. Do you find this or other natural plants, etc., that could help with dreaming?
Thank you, Jocelyn. And like as I was saying to Tom, I think if it helps you, do it. I don't encourage people, and that's not the right word. I don't say to people do this or that, because I think it is a different kind of a relationship. But if it helps you, do it. I will say that I sometimes will ask and if dreamers are on any medication, because some medications can affect our dreams. And by that, I don't mean that they change them, but my experience has been that some medications can thin the filter, I think, of what wants to come up through the unconscious. And so a dream that may come a little bit kinder is because of the medication, comes through unfiltered, and can especially scary dreams. And that's one thing in hospice, they'll notice dreams and what's happening in the dreams, and they'll know that it might be the medication affecting that. So again, if something works for you, it's not for me to say do it or don't do it at all. I know that was not a helpful answer, but
Mary Jo, I have just a couple thoughts that I'll share. One is, not that long ago, there was a woman I was working with on the West Coast for CCALS. And talk therapy, I like the distinction between what's available to us in our normal kind of therapeutic modalities and what can come through this alternative way of understanding our circumstances and our own personhood in the circumstances. And she said to me at one point, she said, I was asking about moments in her day that were easy, because there aren't always easy days with someone as they're progressing with ALS. And she said, in my dream, I'm running, and she had horses and loved riding horses. And I'm alive and well, and speaking to that point of you at the top of the stairs or in your dream that knew how to fly or float down. And then she said, and then when I wake up, I remember I'm in this nightmare. And I really, in my own experience also, because you've been generous with dream work with me and generations in my family, and also with the work that I've done with your teacher, Roger, personally, that it's nice to come alive and to know that there is that dimension. And it isn't only, it is in relationship with the fears or the griefs and the harder emotions that we might not want to say, that I've experienced a greater range of motion for things like ease or that aliveness to be present. And I think that's been a gift in my experience of the dreams, even when folks have shared with ALS what their dream work and their dreamscape is like.
beautiful. And as I'm hearing you say, what echoing from earlier, that it is real. It's not just a dream. It's a real experience. And she felt that in her body. She knows that. Thank you. I'd love to close with, you may know this poem by Rumi, The Guest House, but I read it as though I think he did know this. I think he was speaking to our dreams when he wrote this. So let me read The Guest House by Rumi. I think it's an invitation into the dream. This being human is a guest house. Every morning is a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whatever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. My deepest, truest thanks to all of you today. I hope this was meaningful for you, and I will tell you how meaningful it is for me to be able to be in this kind of conversation with other people, beautiful people. Thank you.